Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and those who are neither, wherever you are in the world. I'm Ramblin' Rusty Elm, and this is Rambling with Rusty. Last time on Rambling with Rusty, we went to the ruins of Windir, where we met up with Narcissus Dren and his assistant, and I use that term loosely. And we helped Narcissus recover the one of the symbols of King Dinar, the last king of the Aliads. And we also discovered the last of the 3 crafting zones, crafting set stations for Gold Road. Today's episode was supposed to be going into the final delve here in Westweald, Fort Calovia. Unfortunately, I clicked the wrong button on the recording software, so none of that got recorded. So our last little bit today is going to be going over here to explore this last adventure zone. I've been through here a couple of times with a couple of characters, not stopped to do it. And I know there's vampires up here. So, we'll see what's up. Without further ado, let's join the adventure in progress.
What would Count... You're not planning to attend the Valente Vineyards auction, are you? I'm sure something untoward is going on in there. You seem capable. Would you be willing to help me investigate the situation? House Ravenwatch can be very generous. It isn't just any auction. It's run by and for vampires. Being a vampire myself, I can't help but wonder why Lord Gallio Valente, vineyard owner and vampire coven leader, wants to sell wine to other vampires. It's not like we partake of the stuff. Not exactly. I was hunting a violent vampire gang called the Terrors when I found an invitation to the auction. Inviting vampires to such an event is strange enough, but offering this Vesper Valente vintage? That has me concerned. Will you help me? First, let's look around the vineyard. I want to examine the grapes they grow here. Besides, it's a good idea to get a feel for the grounds before we head into the auction. Never fear. This is exactly what House Ravenwatch trained me for.
Sure, you've been trained. Okay.
Right behind you, friend. An injured field hand.
This is no place to wander aimlessly, traveler. The foul beasts are vicious and hungry for blood.
Foul beasts?
Ugliest hounds Drovir has ever seen. This one just finished checking the new grapes and was on his way to the auction when it came out of nowhere, ripped up Drovir's leg real good. Drovir thought the request was strange too, but Lord Valente insisted, and Lady Valente specifically told Sentry Helvius to let the servants in, even if we didn't have the fancy invitations. If you're here for the auction, you should head inside. He came back from his travels different. Even his father was concerned about the changes in his beloved son. But shortly after young Gallio returned, his father fell ill and died. Just that he invited some important guests. He's been working on the new grapes for a special vintage since he returned, and he's very proud of it. Says it's going to make him even more rich and powerful. Lord Valente's new wife, a high elf with a name too complicated for this one's Khajiiti tongue. Drovir believes they met during young Gallio's time away. But what does this old field hand know of such things? Unusual. Well, this one does not like to talk out of turn, but Drovir hears that Lady Valente wants to be more involved in running the vineyard. But Lord Valente developed the new seeds in his alchemical laboratory under the manor. They grow thorny vines that bear a crimson grape unlike anything Drovir has ever seen before. Once the first vintage was ready, Lord Valente set up this...
That doesn't sound suspicious. A death hound. A tough death hound.
It appears the grapes did not agree with this death hound. Let's look more closely at those grapes. The scent wafting off those grapes. It's tantalizing. Just as Count Ferrandis taught me, there is always something to learn if you simply pay attention. The field hand was attacked by a death hound, a sure indication of So you were listening. Good. The field hand described Galio as different when he returned. He developed a new grape to make him richer and more powerful, and he recently married... The grapes were developed using alchemy. They've been infused with blood, and I find the aroma tantalizing. But I dare not try one. Look what consuming the grapes did to the Death Hound. The field hand assumed you were a guest of the auction, and the invitation did say to bring my most favored mortal servant. If anyone asks, you're the blood servant of Master Bogvir, the vampire I shall pretend to be, and the invitation indicates we're to head to the walled garden just east of the... Let's see. It promises an evening in the beautiful Colovian countryside, majestic views, new and innovative cultivation, a new vintage called Vesper Valente, the auction. Ah, yes. And this. I could be reading into things. But in some vampire circles, flask is used as a crude term to refer to a blood servant. Someone who willingly lets vampires feed on them, usually for Indeed. Though the vampire I acquired this invitation from wasn't the sort to rely on blood servants. He was extremely cruel. Preferred the thrill of the hunt and...
Well, okay. Let's head over here and see what we can find.
Halt! Your invitation, please.
Right, here you are.
Welcome, Master Bogvir, and guest. I'll escort you to Lord Valente, this way.
Totally unnecessary. I'll find him. Thanks. Just a moment. Let's talk first. So, do I look like a Master Bogvir? Probably not. But we work with the tools we're given. Anything that can tell us the true purpose of this auction. Vampires don't need one. I am. But as soon as we walked in, I would...
Can I offer you a glass of our new Vesper Valente?
Certainly. I'm very curious about this wine.
I'd offer you a glass, but your friend just took the last one. I wasn't expecting that. None of the other guests I've served this evening even tried it. Only their attendants and servants. It is. The Vineyard's latest vintage, Vesper Valente. Lord Valente did tell us that his guests probably wouldn't want to try it before the auction, but that I should freely provide it to their attendants and servants. I'd offer you a glass. It is. I have. Lord Valente was generous enough to let all the vineyard workers in.
So it tasted bloody.
I heard Lord Valente and his new bride loathe each other.
Why would he marry a mortal? It's beneath him.
Another one of my husband's guests. No, you're either an attendant or a servant, I'd wager. Who brought you to my husband's little affair? Master Bogvir. Is that the name he uses now? You know, he bears a striking resemblance to an old acquaintance of mine. In fact, I'm sure of it. How is Fenorian? And why has he come to Valente Vineyard? No. And why don't I believe you? No, don't worry. I have no desire to reveal Fenorian's deception to my husband. Not before I learn what's going on here, the same as you. Be so kind as to let Fenorian know.
A single, very small sip, for experimental purposes only. Indeed, but I took the barest of tastes. Certainly not anywhere near the amount of grapes the Death Hound consumed. The aroma says drink me, but the flavor?
Ah, welcome. I'm Lord Galio Valente, the humble proprietor of Valente Vineyards and Winery. You, however, have me at a disadvantage. Bogvir, of course. Where is my old friend? Still upset about that little incident? No matter. I was hoping to clear things up before the auction got underway. Oh, don't trouble yourself. Any guest of Bogvir's is welcome. Enjoy yourself. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must prepare for the auction.
Is this Vesper Valente really
You there!
special?
I am bored, and my hounds are hungry. Will the auction start soon, or must we continue this Colovian dance of manners and pleasantries while my gold sits unspent? Ah, apologies. I mistook you for a Valente servant. Lord Valente is clever, and if the wine accomplishes a fraction of what he claims, the waiting will have been worth it. But I would prefer to... Haven't you tried it yet? You really must sample the vintage for yourself. I suggest you find a glass quickly, before the auction begins. All of the servants and attendants must have that wine.
This wine is specifically meant for the mortals here, not the vampires. So why are the vampires bidding on it? And why is my flask doing little to curb my rising hunger? Tell me you learned something more, my friend. I'm sorry? Did you say Lady Valente's name is Ursilia? Oh, she's that Ursilia. Should we leave? Right. We do need to figure out what's going on here. All right, I'll stay and talk to Ursilia. That's a story for another time, friend. Let's stay focused. Don't worry, we can talk more later. In ledgers, journals,
Well, I think everybody's going to be dead when we get back. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you know?
You
I was
again.
right.
What are you doing in my husband's office? You and Fenorian. Never in the right place at the right time. So, did you find what you were looking for? Share it with me, and maybe I won't call down to the winery for my husband's army of mercenaries. Let me see that journal. By the stars, he killed his own father, and he plans to kill me. Oh, he's a cretin and a monster. And yes, I suspected something was amiss. Since I arrived, we haven't consummated our marriage, and he spends his time down in the winery, locked in his alchemy laboratory with his mercenaries. Plus, this vineyard could be a motherlode in the right hands. My hands, friend of Fenorian, not my husband's. I assume you're here to stop him? Help Fenorian finish the task, and I'll forgive him. Make sure you do. I have no intent to serve as a wine glass for my husband.
Ursilia, I suppose I owe you an explanation.
Of course you do, but I don't care. Just talk to your friend and deal with my husband.
All right, if you say so. Lord Valente is well and truly into the auction now, so we have a bit of time. I never expected to find Ursilia here with you, though. Interesting. He really spells it out, doesn't he? Alchemically enhanced mushrooms used as fertilizer for alchemically treated grape seeds. And the hunger. I wasn't losing control. It's an effect of the grapes. Well, that's a relief. That does seem to be the general idea. If we allow this to spread, the ramifications will be staggering. Even relatively peaceful vampires might be tempted to start killing out of hand. We need to stop this. What will you and... Oh, yes. I do suppose I owe her for that. I'm no hired assassin, but I do make a habit out of disposing of dangerous vampires. Head downstairs and scout the area. We were betrothed. A marriage arranged by our families. There might have been some affection there, but it was mostly a business agreement. When I became a vampire, I just left. That's a very personal question. I mean, no offense, but I'm not inclined to share it with someone I only just met. Perhaps... No. I didn't want to hurt anyone I knew. Ursilia, my family. So I simply left. Eventually, Count Verandis found me and made me part of House Ravenwatch. Rivenspire is a long... I'm not going to go out of my way to kill Gallio, if that's what you're asking. We do need to destroy... Ursilia! Before we talk, let me see if I've... You lead while I look around. Valente's journal said he had a coven of vampires. We should expect a fight. Captives, and apparently under the influence of the wine. Friend, let's... These workers must be some of the subjects Gallio mentioned in his journal. They're on the verge of turning into blood fiends. I might be able to mix grape pulp left over from the Vesper Valente wine, wax flower petals to hasten the recovery process, and imperial oak tannins to make the remedy effective.
I saw two people come running this way. Must have been another player. A couple of prisoners. That's who I saw run off.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're back. Did you find everything we need? Once I've brewed the counter-agent, pick up the bucket and... And that should do it. You're free to administer the cure. Just pick up the bucket. Looks like the effects are already subsiding.
You saved us. Please, you need to stop him. Thank you for helping us. Please tell me you're also here to stop Lord Valente. We really thought things were looking up. Lord Valente had such grand ideas for the vineyard and winery. He even asked us to try a new vintage he was working on. We felt so honored. Then we started to get sick. Yes, it's right through those doors. He's growing weird mushrooms and has all kinds of alchemical equipment.
We need to destroy that laboratory. You scout ahead while I work on freeing these people. I'll meet you there. Right behind you, friend.
Didn't see that one coming. Let's see what we got down here. Looks like it's just
I knew there was something wrong.
You won't ruin all my hard work! Coven to me! Must I do everything myself?
This is it. The laboratory. We need to destroy it all. Let me explain, friend. Valente's alchemical equipment is truly impressive. It's a shame we have to destroy it. But we need to make sure no one else can. These vats turn the mushrooms into a fertilizer for the grapes. Increase the flames under the vats by adjusting the valves. That will increase the pressure. After that, set fire to the mushroom planters. Then get clear before the vats explode. A part of me hates to see valuable equipment go to waste. But we can't. Turn up the flame valves as high as they'll go. I'll get rid of these research notes. Now, the mushrooms. A few well-placed torches should ignite the entire harvest. get out of here. Versilia, about your husband.
Not now, Fenorian. I have more important matters. As I was saying, I'll compensate double wages for all who remain. With your expertise, we'll revive the traditional methods and be producing excellent wine in no time.
That was excellent work, friend. We destroyed Lord... We didn't have to. Versilia told me she interrupted the auction and told Lord Gallio in a voice loud enough for all to hear that the Raven Watch was on the premises. One mention of House Ravenwatch and the invited vampires fled the estate. Perhaps a few bottles were carried off, but none of them had time to load any casks or crates before they fled. Versilia is set on taking control and turning the vineyard and winery. I suppose you're off on another adventure now, friend. Know that I appreciate the assistance you provided. Eventually, after I make sure any remnants...
I suppose I should thank you. Even Fenorian came through for me this time. My husband's foul operation is finished, and his coven... Is that really what he called it? We'll scatter before long. Now begins the hard work of restoring this vineyard. Much like he still is. Always a perfect gentleman. Our first moment alone after our families arranged our engagement, I told him to drop any pretense of romantic interest. Oh, how he blushed. Pity those pale cheeks won't ever blush again. Fine with it. I was relieved. In families as wealthy as ours, marriage isn't like some Breton romance novel. It's business. Love never makes for good business. But I never expected. Obviously, that change occurred right before the marriage. But probably not. If he hadn't disappeared without a trace, his family would have disowned him. Marrying a pauper would not have been good business.
All right, well... Well, the bell from the Port Clovia is still ringing. Let's see, what's left up here? We have World Boss, World Boss, World Boss, World Boss, World Boss. So a bunch of World Bosses. And we have this house here we've looked at. Looks like we are done in this zone. So, now we get to figure out what else to do next. I'll have to try and put together a expedition to fight the world bosses up here. Or at least wait till I get leveled up and get my proper gear. Oh, that's right. I gotta go down here and get that sky shard. I forgot about that. But we are out of time for this episode. So I'll go do that in between episodes. And next time, we will return to Stone Falls, I believe is where we were. And continue with the zone story from there. Until then, I'm Ramblin' Rusty Elm. Have a good night, and don't forget to stop and smell the roses.